Let's talk TikTok. TikTok CEO Shou Zi Chew will make his first appearance before Congress tomorrow.
And look, you have politicians on both sides of the aisle now, united in their concerns over the Chinese government's access to app users' data. Chew is expected to tell lawmakers banning this app would damage the U.S. economy. He will also attempt to debunk concerns information is getting into the wrong hands. The TikTok CEO shared a video message on the app ahead of his testimony.
More than 150 million Americans are on TikTok. That's almost half of the US coming to TikTok to connect, to create, to share, to learn, or just to have some fun. This includes 5 million businesses that use TikTok to reach their customers, and the majority of these are small and medium businesses. Some politicians have started talking about banning TikTok. Now, this could take TikTok away from all 150 million of you. I'll be testifying before Congress later this week to share all that we're doing to protect Americans using the app.
We're going to bring in now Zeev Sanderson. He's the executive director of NYU Center for Social Media and Politics. Zeev, we're listening to the head of TikTok saying 150 million Americans use it, that businesses count on it. What would be the financial implications of TikTok being banned in the U.S.?
So this is a really good question that at this point is highly speculative. And I want to be clear, I'm not an economist. What we study is user behavior online. And the economic impacts will likely be downstream or the effect of user behavior. And what I mean by that is, what do users do if there's a TikTok ban? And you can think of two extremes. On the one hand, users just go over to Instagram Reels, in which case advertisers likely follow them. On the other, users don't consume this type of short-term video content, or they find a way around the ban, in which case advertisers don't spend the money in the way they are right now, and there's a much more severe economic impact.
And it seems as though the more immediate concern is the Justice Department, now investigating this TikTok's parent company, ByteDance, for spying potentially on U.S. citizens. And we've always talked about this when it comes to who's listening to your phone, who's looking through the camera, and how much access to information do these apps have. How would you expect Chew to handle that allegation in his testimony?
So this is challenging. This isn't the first time that we've heard of employees at a social media platform using private, sort of granular data in order to surveil users. However, the fact that TikTok is owned by ByteDance, a Chinese company, does introduce new risks. And I think that he's going to have to contend with the fact that these risks are really underscored by the type of surveillance that we saw from the Forbes reporting and now the DOJ probe.
Zeev, you're the executive director of the Center for Social Media and Politics at NYU. And I'm just wondering, for a reality check, how much is this a concern about the Chinese government infiltrating American society and potentially influencing it? Because we know, according to the Wall Street Journal, a cybersecurity company found dozens of state government websites use a web tracking code created by TikTok's parent company. So we know that that's a problem. But isn't it also a problem, going back to your first point, potentially, not necessarily in the China versus U.S., but with social media platforms tracking their users, something that isn't necessarily unique just to this company?
Yes. So I'm really happy that we sort of brought this point up, because what we saw in the sort of recent story that emerged yesterday around pixels being on, or tracking software, being on government websites, is that this is like run-of-the-mill data collection that all social media companies use in order to understand the efficacy of their advertisements. This emphasizes, though, that the type of run-of-the-mill data collection that we've done for quite a long time potentially introduces new risks given the geopolitical dynamics here. And I also want to be clear that there hasn't been evidence yet of there actually being sort of Chinese influence on TikTok. However, we know that the risks are very real and they're there. And I also want to be clear that there's sort of two different risks that we want to be sort of cognizant of at the same time. The first is this sort of cybersecurity or privacy risk. And the second is this sort of foreign influence operations risk, which has much more to do with whether the Chinese government might be able to influence TikTok's recommendation algorithm to push certain types of content to U.S. users. He's going to need to think about both of those risks tomorrow.
And we certainly heard that, to that point, we have heard criticisms of Russian infiltration of U.S. Social media to influence our elections, something that sort of has gone into the back burner as we've been talking so much about TikTok.
Yeah.
Z. Sanderson, thank you so much for coming in and discussing this. I'm sure we'll have you back.
Thank you so much.